Innovation organized by IQAC Kristu College, Bangalore. We have with us Dr. A. Senthilkumaran, Chief Confluencer, the Learners Confluence and Excel One Edu Services Limited, as a resource person for this session who has already registered his presence with us. I now request Dr. A. Senthilkumaran to please take his place on the dais. Sir. Thank you, sir. India is one among the 3 largest higher education systems in the world, with over 40 million plus students enrolled across 1,000 plus universities and 42,000 plus colleges and 11,500 plus standalone institutes nationally. However, global perceptions about the Indian higher education system are still far from optimal. Indian colleges and universities are not counted among the top-notch global institutions of research, and their academic curriculum are considered lacking in practical industry skills. Although graduates from India's IITs, IIMs, and other institutes of repute are highly sought after across the world, these institutes do not feature among the top institutions of global repute. Exploring several opportunities for improvement, including the closing gaps between the curriculum and industry needs, increasing focus on research, developing international capabilities, and exploring opportunities for international partnerships may lead India to become a global higher education destination, particularly in domains such as STEM, sports, language, and culture. The new National Education Policy 2020, released by MOE, strongly emphasizes digital and online learning to make education accessible to every child in India. Leveraging the power of modern technology in education, NEP Policy 2020 aims to completely transform the Indian education system and make the country a global knowledge superpower by 2030. The new policy seeks rectification of poor literacy and numeracy outcomes associated with primary schools, reduction in dropout levels in middle and secondary schools, and adoption of the multidisciplinary approach in higher education system. NEP aims to achieve a target GER of 50% by 2035. Apart from this, the policy also focuses on early childhood care, restructuring curriculum and pedagogy, performing assessments and exams, and investing in teacher training and broad-basing their appraisal. As the NEP 2020 has raised the bar for both the school management and parents, the school managements are looking to implement the features of NEP Policy 2020 in their schools, while the parents desire inclusion of everything contemporary and understandable in the curriculum. To keep up with the dramatic changes that the new education policy aims to bring to the education sector, school owners must choose the right integrated academic management solution and elements perfectly aligned with an NEP 2020 to raise Indian education to the zenith of the knowledge. And this needs an experienced and knowledgeable intellect mind to guide. We have one such person, Dr. A. Senthilkumaran, Chief Confluencer of the Learners Confluence and Director Excel One Edu Services Private Limited, to throw light on the same through the technical session 6 on leverage NEP 2020 elements for making Indian schools globally competitive. On behalf of Kristu College, I wholeheartedly welcome you, sir, to the 8th All India Educators Meet on Transcending School Education by Embracing Innovation. Now I request Professor Mary Jacob to present a potted plant as a gesture of welcome to Dr. A. Senthilkumaran. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. A hearty welcome to all the dignitaries and participants again to the session. Before I invite Dr. Senthilkumaran to deliver the session, it is my pertinent duty to introduce him to the audience. With a doctorate from Bangalore University, Dr. Senthilkumaran is empowered in educational leadership and staff development with an excellent command of over English and many Indian languages, Dr. Senthil Kumran worked as a faculty and strategic core team member in Christ College, Bangalore for 10 years and as a principal counselor and head education excellence in CII Institute of Quality for 15 years. His belief that learning always needs to be personalized, collaborative, innovative, and sustainable led him to launch the Learners Confluence for Educational Services in India and developing a technology platform for teachers for enhanced peer learning and knowledge sharing. The Learners Confluence is a place of educators where knowledge merge or flow together with the purpose of improving their personal and institutional learning outcomes. The mantra of engage, explore, and enlighten has kickstarted the journey of the Learners Confluence on the road to innovation and progress. Sir is also the director and mentor of Excel One Edu Services Private Limited. Now invite Dr. Senthil Kumran to acquaint us on the strategies and elements that we need to employ to make Indian education conspicuous in the world. Sir, over to you.
Namaste to all of you. I said namaste to all of you. I thought that you just had your tea. Can I increase the volume? So I think the volume would have been much better. So let me also try to adjust. And maybe a teacher's voice, so it will take some time to get into normalcy in a routine class. So thank you very much, Team Kristu Jayanti, for inviting me. I was just thinking and reflecting that this is the 8th episode. And I think I had the privilege of attending or addressing at least 7, whether it was online or offline. And I'm here when Dr. Edward asked me, Senthil, can you be there, sir? Can you be there? I said, yeah, sure, I'll be there. But only challenge is I need to travel. So even if I sleep in between, please wake me up because I kind of got up at 3:30 to be here with all of you. Thanks to Indigo Airlines for delaying half an hour. And thanks to the earlier speakers who delayed the session so that we can start the session on time. So don't worry, I don't know what is the total time that has been given. It's already 12:30. So when we should close the session, organizers, 1:30? Okay, fine. So we'll keep a track on the clock and try to, let me see, complete the syllabus, not finish the syllabus. That's very, very important because finishing is much more easier, but let me try to complete. First of all, thanks to organizers and thanks to all of you who have been kind of coming regularly for this particular program on a regular basis. How many of you are coming for the first time? Just raise your hand. How many of you are coming for the first time? Okay, good. Thank you very much. Why I wanted is that many of you have heard me in the past, so I should not say the last time whatever lie I said, I should not say this time. That's all, just to get an idea on it. Okay, fine. So let's start the session by this particular whole belief that NEP is here. NEP is already in action. And I'm sure that my good friend, Dr. Chetan, he also shared, he might have shared some wonderful things, but probably he's holding a responsibility. So he will have a little challenge of saying things very openly, but I don't have any responsibility, so I can say things a little more. So that's the difference between him and me. But we are very good friends. We exchange notes. When the NCF school education came in, I think I had the opportunity also to call him and say, congratulations, finally, the board era is over in India. Because it is very, very important that people like us have been saying that enough of board, enough of marks, grades itself is not required. Can we revisit that whole assessment process is something very, very important. But what I personally believe as a teacher, and I would urge all of you, when you're looking at the presentation, look at this particular presentation without any bias. Look at this presentation purely as a teacher. Don't try to play any other role of an administrator, owner, management, because if you start playing all that role, you'll never be able to understand the purpose with which the whole thought process has actually been designed. But when the organizers were saying last time, I think many of you might have not seen this particular comment written as mentor also of chief mentor as for Excel 1. Again, Excel 1 is something which we dreamt 3 years ago, 4 years ago to come back to India and bring PISA for schools in India. PISA has been the international performance of international student assessment, where every other country has been saying that we are number one there, and there they are doing quite well. So when this whole NEP was happening, and we were kind of discussing with OECD that how exactly we are going to take this across and run, I think it was very interesting for us also to sit back and think whether it made sense or not made sense. But then we said that there is a very progressive policy which has come in. This particular policy has to be complemented sufficiently by an international framework. So my effort today is going to be helping you to understand how exactly the policy, because many people have read policy from English perspective. So my purpose is not going to be looking at reading the English part of it. And many schools, I know principals, what they have done is chapter 1 given to her, chapter 2 given to him, 3 to him, 4 to him, 5 to him, 6. So they have given chapter different people, everybody come and talk. Now the first person doesn't know what happens in 6, and 6th person doesn't know the context. It is typical teacher what we do. What we have done, how many times did we actually go through the forward? Every textbook has a forward. Every chapter has something at the last to reflect. How many times the teachers actually use that as a perspective to trigger the thinking, to make sure that this concept gets extrapolated in different things? No. And this is exactly the challenge what happens with new education policy. Tell me, how many of you have read new education policy? NEP? I'm not going to ask questions, don't worry. Okay, I can find 1 or 2 hands. Good. How many of you have read the 70-page document or 350-page document? 70, everybody. 350, no. I'm not asking for NCF school education. I'm asking the draft policy of NEP, which was around 300 plus pages. Many of us said, no, that is draft. And the 70 came out. And I'm sure Chetan might have surely made a mention that this is an executive summary of that 340 pages or 400 pages. I'm sure somewhere he might have made a mention of it, because many of us try to look at the 70, don't look at the history behind it. And I think that is where something which is missing link. And we really need to now start understanding how exactly the new education policy is actually working. Just to talk about a disclaimer, all the ideas, whatever, I'm not endorsing any product, any service. I don't sell any one of those things. So if I take a name of a product, so that means I think the product has something good. That's all. The second part is that we do a lot of internal research trying to find out where exactly the linkages are working. So we really need to look at it. The last important point is, if your school photo by mistake comes here, or I give an example and that is from yours, that looks like your school, then it is purely coincidental. There is no correlation to whatever is being said by. It is purely coincidental. I have never come to your school, so I don't know about your school. So we be very clear, confident that wo hamara school nahi hai. So you can take that particular thought process and go ahead with that. So with that particular note, let's get into the session. Thank you. Congratulations once again. Let's start. First of all, thanking COVID. I somehow love COVID. Many people hate COVID, but I love COVID. The reason for loving COVID is it made life much more reality for all of us. It told us what we are and who we are. It told us that how beautiful our schooling system has been. When I'm saying schooling system, it told us how our schooling system, because in our vision, mission, values, we write very long English statement called as independent learner. Parents came complaining to you, 15 minutes, my child is not able to sit down and study. So all the practices, whatever we spoke about, whether they actually happened during the COVID time, I'm not very sure about it. It told about that whether when we were putting in our advertisement saying that we were a tech-savvy campus, we really struggled. The people never knew how to use a Zoom or a Google, Google Classroom or anything. I think tool became a big challenge per se as such. So what is very important in this whole process is, that COVID told us that whatever practices you are doing, it is not giving you the desired result. So there is no correlation between karma and phal. That means whatever practice you are doing, there is no correlation between the practice and performance. We were doing the practice because it has been done for years together, and we were getting performance for which we had not played. I'm really worried right now. I'm really worried when 10th and 12th board examination results are not going to be there from next to next year or by 2027. How schools, what schools will say that we have achieved? I'm really worried for all of you. I'm worried not only for you, I'm worried even for that person who's making flex outside your school. Because I'm more worried about that fellow, because that fellow is struggling. He will, no school is going to give, because you can't put anything. Everybody pass. Now everybody pass means what you will put there? So challenge is going to come in. Now this is going to become a major thing which people are going to go through. And again, I said thanks to COVID. One more very interesting thing happened. COVID taught us, we were saying that I am principal, I am mentor, I am all these things. Tell me frankly, how many of us got invitation card for weddings? Nobody called us because we were in not government's top 50, we were not coming in our own relatives. Even if they sent invitation, it was only for information. Please see in YouTube. So people were very clear about how exactly the whole COVID actually started. It brought into simplicity into all of us. It said very clear that with minimum amount, you can actually make a decent living. It taught us that with single sabji, you can actually make a living. All this actually COVID taught us. But COVID also taught us how to make sure that the technology can be used appropriately. All the heroes and heroines in the school, the so-called 9, 10, 11, 12 mother-in-laws, and I call them as sister-in-laws in the call, elder sister-in-laws in the call, in the schools, suddenly they became zeros. Because they were thinking that they were the best teachers and they knew everything. And when COVID came in, technology was zero. So the challenge actually happened. The investment was not done on the continuous professional development, which is very critical for every teacher per se as such. So all these people who were chutku putku, just less than 5 years people, they came in and they knew how to play with the mobile and start showing it on the PPT. Then suddenly full love for all these young daughter-in-laws who joined the schools, right? So we started loving them. We said, एक PPT बना के दे दो हमको. So PPT बनाया. कुछ लोग और smart हो गए. Photo निकाला, screen में खींच दिया. अब वो whether it is right, wrong, but we went. But I would like you to go back and tell all your teachers, thank you. As a teacher, please convey my thanks to all your teachers. Because each one of those teachers, without even sufficiently equipped, engaged students in the classrooms. Without any kind of learning. They did all the circus possible. They learned everything and they made sure engagement happened. I am not sure about learning. If somebody says learning, and I think many people sitting here, I don't want to know, I know that this is going live. I don't want to comment on some of those things, but I think it's very clear this time correction of answer sheets, which has happened in many boards across country, is a real fact of what COVID has done. Forget about these are all unofficial. If you take up the document of NCERT, which very clearly says that there's 15 to 17% learning loss has happened. And that 15 to 17% learning loss we have not built. When I go and ask schools, what have you done? Sir, we have done a bridge program. I said, what bridge was it? Did you know from where to start and where to end? No, 14 days bridge program is 3 years, whatever you have lost. How can you finish in 14 days? And all the syllabus which got cut. Now students are saying, are looking at all these concepts in higher classes like Greek and Latin. Go and ask your senior teachers. The students are not able to understand where is the origination of this concept, because you just cut the syllabus. You actually were supposed to reduce the syllabus, not supposed to cut the syllabus, because there is a progressive behavior of every concept which gets progressed. And if you have not done that, it is not taking you anywhere. So we need to be very cautious about it. So thanks to COVID, but at least it taught us that as a school, what we are supposed to do. It also made sure that what kind of financial model is something which is happening in our own systems. What is happening in our own financial systems actually came out quite clearly. Government itself may have to rethink on the policy of 15%, whatever surplus you were keeping. I think you can't keep any more. You have to increase that particular budget, increase that particular portion, and then make sure that how exactly this particular financial model can be sustained. And that's where there is a thumb rule, there is a way which all of us kind of got aggravated. But this also brought in a lot of new perspectives in education, not only in India, but across the globe. what kind of perspectives came? The first and the foremost thing which came up was this. I was in Paris on 19, 20, 21st, 20th, 21st at trying to attend one of the OECD's conferences called as PISA's 10 years of success or 10 years anyway, anniversary. I had the opportunity to be there. And one of the presentation which came up from one of the speakers from OECD was this. I was feeling a little happy. That's why I said, go back and tell thanks to all your teachers. That our 15 to 17% and the Helsinki, Finland's education system, Finland also lost 15% of learning gap is there. But there are other countries which had as much as 70% learning loss. So it is a study which was done with 38 countries across the globe, trying to find out what kind of learning loss has happened, what percentage, and it is very, very clear. So we really need to be a little happy that we are still in 15 to 17. The second thing which came out as part of this particular whole process, which I understood or I learned, is that redefining the education. Education cannot be for superstars. You can't have 1 rank, 2 rank and celebrate that. Sorry, that era is over. That era is over. You need basic competencies to be given to every kid to ensure he or she is able to stand up and talk like this at least for 3 minutes. And it is little disturbing when you try to go and talk to schools, and when they go to these consultants to make sure that the profiles are written for admissions, and in that particular profile so much money is getting lost into it. If I have studied 12 years English in a school, if I have studied 12 years English in a school, I should be able to write at least 1 page about myself. I should be able to write at least 1 page about myself. Are we able to do that? I'm sorry, no. The reason is very, very simple. English is taught like any other subject, not like a language. English is taught like any other subject, no more like a language. And if you can actually differentiate, you'll be able to find a lot of value in it. And I think that's something very, very important. So go back and start looking at it. If you try to look at the definition, this is a new definition, and I have not seen this definition now. I've seen 7 years back. When I went to Finland, one of the Professor Jari Salomon's presentation, I saw this particular definition. And this definition very clearly talks about, if you open the new education policy, it talks about health and well-being. It talks about health and well-being, and that is nothing but activeness. It talks about the respecting the community, respecting the place wherever you are. I think that's where people, whenever they go to any country, they need to go back and start adopting and respecting the local culture. Imagine all the Punjabis go to Canada and say, Jai Punjab there. What that fellow will say, after some time they'll say, we'll send you back. Same thing, all the Tamilians going to Sri Lanka and say, Tamil Nadu is there, this is my state. That fellow will keep quiet? No. The same thing will happen to all the Kerala people going to Middle East and say, Ende Kerala. That fellow will say, go Kerala. That's all will happen. It's not going to be easy. So you need to go there and start respecting. And that's what this particular policy is also asking you, that 40% localization has to be done. There is something called as IKS. What is IKS, by the way? So don't ask out of syllabus question. Okay, fine. Indian knowledge system. Indian knowledge system is something which has been asked about. So Indian knowledge system doesn't connect to any one particular religion or any one particular part, any one particular sect. Indian knowledge system is how the churches are built, how the temples are built, what is the symmetry which comes in. If you go to Taj Mahal, how exactly are you able to look at the physics? How exactly physics can be taught from the Taj Mahal is something which is to be understood. And that is what CBSE, ICSE, state boards have been talking about in terms of integration of art, music, dance, drama into the concepts. Many times we don't understand, we don't know how to connect. And please write these 3 C's in your, go and tell your teachers that there are 3 C's which we must concentrate. And that's my learning traveling across the world. The first and the foremost thing is there is a concept. The first C is all about concept. And if people understand the concept, then they can start flirting with the concept. What is the meaning of flirting with the concept? You try to create variations of it, and that's where the second C comes in, and that's called as context. So concept has to be contextualized. If I'm taking a concept, I'm coming to Kristu Jayanti and I'm talking to students, the same presentation can I use for the students and teach them the concept of how exactly the public policy comes in or how education policy comes in. If there are, only priests sitting in this particular room, how this particular policy is relevant to all the missionary institutions? If I am trying to get all the parents in the same room with the same PPT, whether I am able to tell parents that this is how it will impact you and your child. Now, this is where the second C comes. And the third C is very, very important. What is the third C? Third C is connection. And that connection is called as social, emotional learning, or connections are very, very important for us. Somewhere as teachers, please understand, children have never loved their teachers. Never loved their subjects, but their teachers. And once they started loving their teachers, they started loving the subject too. And this is exactly what happens to the concepts. So every concept, when I am able to contextualize, I think I get the first success. The second success happens to me when I'm able to take that context and connect it to the concept. I think people will be able to appreciate it quite well. And this is where I think the purpose of education itself is changing. All of us are running in this particular room, schools. Schools hereafter, please don't stop teaching. My request to you is stop teaching, start reaching. What is stop teaching and start reaching? You have to stop telling the person that this is what it means. You're only supposed to trigger. You're only supposed to trigger how exactly the child will be able to understand that experience and convert his or her understanding and move up in that particular understanding level. So the new definition of school itself is to create experiences. Not only create experiences for what? Competencies. And I'm sure all the speakers who spoke about, as soon as they said NEP, they said competency. They said about competency because this was supposed to be done as part of the education. Not only this, it should bring in changes in the attitudes and future behavior. Is there anybody in this room who doesn't have a nickname in the school? Or you are not aware of it? In the staff room also there is one. Students forget it. Staff room also there is a nickname for you. How do we get our nicknames? Or we have kept nicknames when we were students. How do we get our nicknames? Our not only behavior, repetitive behavior. It's not behavior, it is repetitive behavior. You start branding me, saying that, okay, this particular person uses this word. So I put a suffix or prefix to my name, his name or her name, and call that as a nickname. A simple example could be, suppose if I'm a maths teacher, and maths teacher and science teachers normally have this challenge of suppose x is equal to this, suppose. So if I'm teaching that I'm walking on the corridor, students will say S square is walking. S square is nothing but suppose Sendil is actually walking. So this is where what happens, we get our name. So our behavior must change in future. Our behavior must change in future. So this is the purpose of school itself. The next important thing, we have been hearing this word called as lifelong learner, lifelong learner. Everybody talks about. Lifelong learner doesn't mean 12 o'clock, open the book and read a story and then close it and sleep. It is not about lifelong learning. Lifelong learning has changed its meaning. It has changed its meaning by saying very, very specifically that the child should be, whatever knowledge you will be able to do, if you are not able to solve a problem, you are useless. So it says very, very clearly, create new solutions, solve problems and create new solutions by adopting technology. And if you try to look at new education policy, it says the day the kid comes to your school and gets out of your school, he needs a complete digital repository. Some of you will remember CCE, right? Continuous, that was one major thing which government brought and government took away. CCE was a booth in India, actually. The challenge was we never understood how to implement. The problem is not the teachers. I would say always the principals. The principal went for the CBSE program and they gave the 2 manuals. You remember CCE had 2 big manuals? And first training program, they got that manual. They went for the training and came back in the evening and put that on the table. And when they were keeping it on the, not keeping, when they were actually dumping on the table, noise came. And that noise, teachers, HODs were observing. When my principal itself, it is so difficult, how we will implement? So the problem was not CCE. The problem was we never knew, we never had a solution, a technology solution to basically find answers to it. So what did we do? Suddenly English department became very active in schools. They started writing anecdotal comment without even knowing what the experience is all about. Our teachers are very smart. You put one B grade, you select any one of the 16 comments, Control C, Control V, report card ready. The worst is there is a company, I can openly say, there is a company at Chennai which said that there are only 16 behavioral patterns which can happen. I told that company people, give a place for teacher to write. And the people who had a problem of English, they wrote very simple. If it is A, excellent and good. If it is B, good and excellent. That's all they wrote in English. Because you have to play with the same words. How much, when we have a challenge of vocabulary, what we will do? Because we were never taught how to capture an anecdotal record. We were never taught how to capture an anecdotal record. And if I have to capture anecdotal report, I should have an eye to see that, no? I should have an eye to see. There are so many gentlemen sitting. I know there are a lot of priests, brothers and fathers and others, but there are a lot of married men also. When was the last time you complimented your wife? Tell me. There are so many men who are married around here in this room. Please tell me, when was the last time we gave a compliment to our wife? Sir, vividly remember, I think last anniversary maybe. But when was the last time that you said the food, the salt was not there? Sir, today morning, sir. So now we're able to understand, are we designed to look and give feedback properly or not? If I have to give a feedback, I should know what to look for. What to look for. I don't know how many of you remember when Tata, I was at Jamshedpur yesterday with Tata, and one of the things that they have started saying, they are now trying to talk about we also make lives better. So when I entered the Tata Steel yesterday, I saw this new term. So I was a little happy. I said, okay. Earlier, I used to see ad, we also make steel. We also make steel. Now they have started, we make life, we also make better life for the future, for future better. So what does that talk about it? That they want you to see what you're not seeing. And that happens only when you have educated people, you have a technology tool, you have something with which you can actually work on. And that's where the creating new solution and adapting technology. The second thing is that manage their learning on their own. How that the COVID actually brought this, maybe I think this was one of the reasons the new definition started coming for lifelong learning is people should be able to know what they are supposed to learn. And NEP talks about flexible, flexible, flexible. It says flexible, anytime entry, anytime exit. Choose whom you would like to sit. One of the schools in 11th and 12th, Goa, it's an exclusive secondary institution. I was talking to them. I was actually doing a workshop for them. And during the workshop, somebody said, sir, what will happen to our classroom? I said, make the classroom into staff room. They said, why? I said, yes, because now the teacher need not go to classroom. The children will decide whether I would like to learn English from him or him, maths from him or him, social from her or him. So the whole format is going to change. And if this format has to change, first of all, our mindset should change. I'm seriously thinking, the teachers who were waiting in the classroom for bell to happen, what will happen to them? The bell, our life is connected to the bell, right? Somehow in most of the schools, this is one of the major challenges, that particularly the last period, it is like humming, bird, humming sound comes across the school. And that last 15 minutes, you go around this campus, you just stand outside, you don't have to go, stand outside, you'll feel one new music coming across. And the bell is not over. Then you should see teachers becoming restless, coming outside, looking at each other. Then one hero and heroine will get up and say, wait, I will go take care of my class, go there and press the bell. Now, why I'm talking about it, imagine this happens in the classroom. What will happen to our timetable? What will happen to our timetable with so many choices coming in? I think we really need to go back and reflect. And that's where students should be able to manage their own learning. Do you write LO in your lesson plans? What is that LO? How many of you are writing objectives? Okay, there are still one or two writing. Good. What is learning outcomes, by the way? What is outcomes? Okay, keep thinking. We will touch upon that little later. Okay, keep thinking. And now don't do Google. I know everybody has a phone now. Listen here. Answer I will tell you. You don't have to worry much about it. Coming back here, that they need to manage their own learning and with others. So if you know LO, then you will be able to appreciate this better. You can't hold anymore. You can't hold the teacher responsible for learning not happening. The student have to be imbibed that particular method, how exactly do self-directed learning or independent learning. And if independent learning will happen, then he or she is responsible for making sure that they are learning. And the third important is that there is so much of fake news, there is so much of data which is available across the country or outside the country too. I was told that, Professor Sam Weinberg in Stanford University is being employed only with one particular reason. If anybody is writing anything negative about the wrong history in the internet world, he is supposed to correct that. So that means people are now trying to spend time on correcting what is right, what is wrong. And here it basically talks, find information and decide what to do. And this is first important for all the principals and teachers. Any junk comes. NEP got announced sometime. Now some joker has forwarded in one group. NEP is launched. 2020, we are already in 2023. We're just forwarding without even reading the content of it. Please understand, every time what content gets forwarded by you has an acceptance by you. That's why you're forwarding it. The intent is, I agree, and that's why I forward. Are we doing such skill sets? And that's just one of the skill sets which will be required for people to take it across. Next thing, when we talk about all the 7C, 4C, D, future thinking, all those things, the new definition for 21st century skill is coming through this, which talks about that every child should have some technical skill. That means he should be IT literate minimum. Second, he should have SES, that is nothing but social emotional skill. I should be able to connect to people. I should be empathizing. I should be empathizing with people. That's very, very important. And the third important thing is that creative and critical thinking skills. Now, if you try to talk about creative and critical thinking is, if you try to connect this to the earlier slide, you will be able to find new solutions. And the topic of this particular session is all about innovation. You should be able to create a lot of innovation. Putting one paneer on the dosa and rolling and saying paneer dosa is not innovation. Let me make it clear. Many people are using or playing with this particular vocabulary quite, loosely. So please be very, very clear what is innovation and what is critical and creative thinking skills. We really need to think about it. We really need to work towards it. And how to instill is something very, very important. Let me give one example just to help you to understand how this particular skill works. I hope that everybody can understand at least Hindi. One or two words Hindi, because okay, fine. There are people who can. There was one game which used to play as kids. Mera naam main, tera naam tu, kaun gada? We used to play this game, right? Mera naam main, tumhara naam, tera naam tu, kaun gada? Who is donkey? That's what we used to ask. Now, what is the answer for this? What is the answer for this? Main gada? Very good. I have not said anything. You are trying. So what happened in this particular question? You took some time to make a comment, and when the person who was very smart, he said, "Hum gade." We together are donkey. We are donkey. When we said that time, he critically thought and creatively answered. Don't try to use. Okay, I'll come to that, sir, please. The whole thought is, my name is me, your name is you. Who is donkey? Now, what is the answer for it, sir? Or can I ask one more question? 1 minute, sir. Let me complete that. I'll come to you. Let me ask another question to you. Did you stop kicking your spouse? I have only MCQ, 2 choices, A and B. What is the answer? This is what is critical thinking and creative thinking. Now you answered, no, I will live. That is what is your creativity. So we have to move up the ladder by finding. And this is where MCQ helps. It puts the constraint. It doesn't allow you to. And I'm sure many of us sitting here are the graduate of my era or at least 5 years after me. What was those days answer sheets? Weight of the booklet was directly connected to the marks what we were getting. Yes or no? But now CBSE says only one booklet I will give. Additional booklet you have to think. You go for all the bank examination, they give you only one page. So you have to write it in that one page itself. Now this is where the whole smartness is. A teacher can talk on a topic or a concept for 3 hours, and if he's been said, shut up at 30 minutes, he'll be able to finish it in 30 minutes. This is where the teacher's creativity happens. These kind of creative solutions, these kind of perception, these kind of thought processes need to be instilled. Yes, sir. Nobody. That's another answer. So what are we trying to talk about? Now it is like the story. I think all of us have learned the story of tortoise and hare. Now there are new versions which have started coming out of it. All that is for by whom? That means somebody is thinking little differently and then thought that this can also be done. So we have to start thinking. We have to start thinking, and that's where, how do you bring this skill set? When was the last time? I loved somehow those days, Doordarshan, one channel, Sunday. One regional movie used to come. One lady used to come and Hindi, English, she used to tell a story and never used to tell the ending of the story. The whole family will sit down to see that particular movie. Yes or no? That means if she has triggered motivation for you to sit down and see, that means she is able to instill that skill set in us. How many times do we start like this? Today, unfortunately, while teaching a concept, we say very clearly, children, this is very important question. Last 3-year board, it has come. 6 marks. Child will do what? Next to that question, put one asterisk. So we are feeding. Look at the situation today, what we are going through in all the competitive examinations. We have always taught our children saying that answer all the questions, whatever, whether you know the answer or not. Rewrite the question, at least that fellow will get 1.5 mark and pass you. And what students do when they go for competitive examination, there also they answer all the questions. They are following us, right? We have taught them how to follow. Then how is that will happen? If you want to instill that in your MC, in your test, do you have minus marking? Sir, we don't know how to do that, sir. Learn. This is an era which we have to instill the skill sets to prepare for something. I'm not wanting you to become a tuition center. I'm not wanting you to become tuition center. I want you to look at what is that particular practice which will help me to my child to perform better. Going forward from here, all of us have seen this particular slide, education 1.1, 1.2. Here we were doing well. This is India version, very good, pre-COVID. After COVID, this came up. The new thought process which is coming is knowledge producing education and innovation producing education. Do a little research. Go and do, see, if you're taking photos, no use, I'll tell you. Why I'll tell you there is a reason for it. The reason is your mobile memory is only getting reduced. Because to convert, there is no software available from photo to text. Photo to text. When if I say education 4.0, just go put it in the Google, or now there is a new uncle in the town called as ChatGPT. Put there and he will give you this all this. So you don't have to act. Why I'm saying is that many times learning process, when we see something, we digest something, we make our own notes out of it, helps you. So that's just little out of the context, but please understand, because this is something which is now we are moving. I don't think what will happen to the higher education institutions. I have my own doubt. I have my own doubt. Because once I don't want, earlier the challenge was this degree was such a big pain in India. Many people were not able to complete. And being somebody who has worked almost 15 years in, 11 years in higher education, I have always seen that in most of the university examination, people used to put some 1,000 rupees note, 2,000 rupees note and say, I am not getting married, please pass me in this paper only. All other papers I have passed. So I was not getting my degree. Thanks to NEP, that the marriage problem in India is solved now. Without English, you can take one more paper, pass that and complete a degree. So maybe five papers per year into 2 semester, 10 papers, certificate mil gaya. 20, you'll get one diploma. 30, you'll get a degree. 40, you may get a honor. 50, you will get one MA or masters. The model is very clear, and the model is much more clearer with 40% courses going on ODL format, online distance learning. So I don't have to come to class. No shortage of attendance problem only. So this is going to be again. So when this kind of a thing is coming up in the new education policy, these two things are going to be very, very, very important. And when the streaming of the colleges is happening, just cut down the voice a bit, volume. Cut the volume a bit. When we are trying to talk about this whole thought process as such, we have to be very, very clear that why are we trying to talk about such a thing? And I think ma'am said very, very beautifully in her introduction speech that we are talking about 50% of people to get into GER. If we have to get into GER 50%, then we really need to work little differently. We have to work little differently. And if we have to work little differently, we have to start thinking differently. And that's where the funnel, I don't know how many of us in this room also understand that in India, for every 10th standard, there are 60% of students who don't continue education after 10th. So whatever is left, 40%, in 40%, another 21 point, whatever that Deloitte says 16.85, or some people say 25%, different people give, but 19% or even take 20% are actually getting into higher education. If 50% have to, 20 has to become 50 by 2035, you really need to change the pattern of education. And that's where in 9 and 10, there are essential subjects, 11 and 12, the choice can be done. They are trying to remove the complete thinking process of streaming between art, science, and commerce. And all these people who used to say, group 1, group 2, all that will go. All that will go. So we had one caste system in the school. All with biology, without biology, with computer science, we had all this caste system. Now, no more caste. Third paper, you have to take one out of your area, domain comfort area. And if that is going to come in, it's not going to be easy. We will talk in case if it is required. Somewhere I'll try to touch upon it if required. Whatever policy you take it up, please download this document and read. It is 65-page document. I've shown this in my earlier sessions too. I've been telling people, but I don't know how many people are actually downloading and reading. If you try to look at the new education policy, it's basically talking from this particular perspective of knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values. And if you try to find out in the NCF school education, you'll find quite a lot of thought processes on this, which was not there earlier. Not only this, we are trying to talk about social, physical, and practical. CBSE is sending circular after circular, circular after emotional well-being, health, all that is happening. All this is happening because of this. And suddenly, you will not have teachers for substitution very soon. Wait and watch. Because all the physical education teachers are also supposed to go and take class, no? If they will take class, who will do substitution? That is a problem, standard problem in our schools, no? One of the major thing is that koi nahi mila, first period, ground based though. That ground business will not happen now because he also has to teach a subject. And mind it, in 10th, physical education is a compulsory paper. Compulsory paper. So you are supposed to take up 2 papers under that to make it 16. And if that is going to happen, we don't know. So you really need to look at what kind of things we are talking about. Subject domain, we are talking about interdisciplinary. If you open the document, it very clearly states in new education policy that the learning, very clearly, it's all moving towards activity. Playway, it talks in the foundation years. In preparatory years, it talks about activity. In middle school, it talks about experiential learning. In higher education, it talks about multidisciplinary learning. Now, these are the 4 kinds of strategies which is expected under the new education policy for all the 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. Whether you like it or not, you have to follow this. And to create this, let me make it very, very clear. Many people think, sir, experiential learning, very easy, sir. You take a glass, put some ink, it will become blue. That's experiential learning, sorry. Go back and reflect on Cobb's experiential learning theory. That is what this particular policy expects you to read. And if you're able to do that, I think you are there. Going forward from here, all this is getting connected to OECD's framework for education. OECD's framework for education, and it is purely competency driven. And if you try to look at the world over, the basic education gets over by 15. And if you try to look at the new education model in India, also will complete 15 years, 5 months to 15 years, 6 months. That's where all of you got a circular. See, before 6 years, don't enroll children in first standard. You got one circular, no? That is the reason. So that the complete educational experience for that particular child, 15 years, 15 completed years. 15 completed years, the child is actually doing his basic education. And this is where the whole journey is being designed under various developmental stages. So we need to be very cautious about it. Not all this. Something interesting also has happened. Hello. Thank you very much. So one of the things which is very, very important, I don't know how many of you even read the document called as FLN. What is this FLN? Very good. What is its expectations? How many skill sets it is expecting you to cover? 13 skill sets are supposed to be there. At least go and open that particular page where 13 skill sets are mentioned in one particular page, because that 13 are achieved or not will be done through this particular model called as shuffle. The government has already piloted something. Government means CBSE has already piloted something called as shuffle. See, so beautiful name, no? Hindi mein first and second mein shuffle hua ki nahi, pata chal jayega. The first 5 years education, it is nothing but a diagnostic assessment. You will have 3, 5, 8. Don't get carried by all these, the people who don't understand English, and they call 3, 5, 8 as a board examination. It's not a board examination. It is a diagnostic assessment for the child. And I am not saying, the document itself says very, very clearly. When we try to look at this, it says very clearly, individual assessments should be done. And it should also question how the system works. How the system works. Not only this, it also talks about assessment, how it'll happen for all the institutions, irrespective of private or government. I don't know how many of you have read this something. There's something called a school report card in the new education policy. The school report card will come from this. So you may have to put the school report card. Vinyl banners may go, but this report card has to be put on your website as mandatory disclosure. If this comes in, then we have to be very, very cautious. And this is not happening for the first time in the country. It's happened across. Australia calls it a NAPLAN. Child uses PISA. UK already uses as key stage assessments. Going forward from here, we really need to look at it. Why it is to be done. We need to see that whether we are actually teaching competency or rote learning. Whether we are teaching competency or rote learning. Measure the performance on key competencies, whatever the particular child is actually able to achieve or not. The third thing is very important, identifying how will you improve these weaknesses of yours. And it very clearly says that it is not to be noted that shuffle will not decide pass or fail at any stage. So tell all the people who are there that this is the English, and I have not put color. This is the color there in the document also. There are a lot of people who may be colorblind, no? So they need to understand this very, very clear. That you can't pass or fail a kid in 3rd, 5th, and 8th. Now go back to RTE. That expected you to do this, right? We killed RTE also. Said that, oh, how can you push everybody? We never knew it is a problem in most of the schools, how to engage a class after a sports period. And now I think all you have made new timetable and come for this workshop, right? Teachers are already waiting with complaint. System, all periods after lunch break or sports period. How will I teach? Which research says that the maths and science has to be taught in the first period? Show me. It's all about this, the caste system of subject caste system in our institution. First period has to be maths, Second period has to be science. Then make all the maths and science people class teachers. We'll do that. No, that language people should do. Why? This is a problem in our campus. We don't know how to engage a class after a lunch break. We don't know how to engage a class after a sports period. And we complain the sports department. It doesn't work like that. They need. Somebody asked me in recent conference, sir, you keep going to Finland, sir. They have after every period one break, 15 minutes break. I said, the physical education teacher will die because of suffocation. The children will not come. No, after every 1 period, you leave them, 15 minutes ground, come back. You get them, your children back. Let me see. Let me see. Can we try this? We need to understand the concept, why the break is being given in Finland. People are going to school when the street lights are on. People are coming back when the street lights are on. They need to see sun to the body. That's where after every 45 minutes, 15 minutes, they're sending them, go and play in the sun and come back. We don't understand the concept. We want to copy, Control C, Control V. It doesn't work. Let me take you, it doesn't work. We have to be very, very clear about it. So this is just one example. One more thing in the country, very, very interesting. You know, people have so much ideas and thought process. One term somewhere you say, one nation, one board. Where it is written? There is something written, whether you are Safal or not, there is an organization called as PARAK. PARAK has no business with school. PARAK has no business with children. PARAK has business only with boats, functioning of boats. And when I was telling even some of the board officials, they said, no, this is not going to happen. This has already happened. I'll show you in 1 minute. Now see what it basically talks about, that you need to match the global perspective, PISA, Performance of International Student Assessment, as a framework to do our board examination has to be mapped to that. To make sure that our children will be able to take 2030, the PISA examination, there is a need, there is a necessity that we need to align to global practice. So once we are trying to talk about it, we have to be very cautious about it. And what it basically talks is, it says, see, I'm not saying, open the document, PARAK, put it in the Google and put EOI for PARAK, you'll be able to get this. Not only this, what was very, very interesting in this already ETS has been selected. ETS company has already been selected and they have released a press release. And in the press release, the most important point is this. What it says, the PARAK initiative will set norms, standard guidelines for student assessment, evaluation for all recognized school boards in India. All the boards. And what it further says, this will put a heightened focus on building quality assessments to better measure and increase knowledge and skill acquisition across India. And when you increase knowledge and skill, it will become a competency. So just to help you to understand, there is nothing called as one nation, one board. It's all rubbish. That's why I said WhatsApp University, even if you read, you go and do a little research before even forwarding. And if it is going from principal side, you have to be doubly cautious. Now, all this is getting aligned to CUET, whether we like it or not. People say, oh, CUET will not happen in India. Already happening. 113 universities, deemed universities, autonomous colleges are this year said that we want to take students from CUET. Private ones. You may conduct your own examination, but this is going to be the way order. We don't know by 2024 post-election, we may get, I'm not even saying it may happen. We may get the NEET and JEE also will come into this. Why I'm saying this particular point is there is a reason for it. Already what I was made to understood by somebody is 225 people want to go for 2024 CUET. They have already signed up. 224. That means this number is increasing almost 100% year on year. Year on year, 100%. After some time, to get a BCom degree, you may have to take quota. You may have a quota of CUET quota also, colleges may take. So that is where the alignment is taking place on all the practices. And what is very, very interesting in this is, all these tuition centers will have no problem. They have to reinvent. Why? Because they cannot take up. They have to learn language. Language teacher sitting here, you have a bright future now. So far, we have been thinking that no future for languages. Yes, tuition centers will take you very soon. Because this particular language is further divided into section A, section B. And all that what we were saying, no, 27 domain subjects. So no student may have to write one for this college, one for this institute of eminence, this for this. No. I will take up one maths examination. You go to my DigiLocker, take my score, let me know whether I'm eligible for your institution. I will apply 1,500 rupees, apply to your institution, you take my scores from there. No more photocopying business also. So we have to start thinking from that particular perspective, which direction. And the most interesting thing is the third section. General test. This is where the competencies actually will be assessed for science, math, social, beyond subjects will come in here. And what kind of subjects are mentioned here very, very clearly? Current affairs, general mental, and numeric. So what I'm trying to say is that it is all going to be designed by the competency. Everybody pass, take up the test. If you're right, you take it up. Otherwise, say bye, continue into other career. So that's going to be very, very serious. And if you try to look at education 3.0, it is basically even asking higher education institution whether you want to become a research university or whether you want to become a teaching certificate awarding university. So this clarity already has come up into the thing, and people are now saying, no, we want a little bit of teaching, little bit of research. Because if it is only research, no money. If it is only teaching, the quality will not be there. So people are asking for a new version, and that may come. Let's see. But why I'm saying this is all the future. Now, all this has germinated a lot of vocabulary into English into our schools. Competency-based assessments. Simple definition of competency-based assessment is one. All of us may know how to drive a car. That is what? Minimum level, how to drive a car with gear or without gear. Now, without gear also started coming. Battery operated also is coming. So you may get a license that you can drive only car with gear and without gear, like two-wheeler, what has happened. Now, everybody can do this, but how many of us can become Naren Karthikeyan? That's also four-wheeler, no? To drive a formula race, you really need to have a different kind of a competence. In between all this, now at least we have some, on this Kristu Jayanti road, we have some barricades to divide the road. Earlier, there was no road. So people never you should never have the knowledge of how to drive the car. You should know psychology, what that opposite fellow will do. That requires a different kind of a competence. So you saw the three levels now. One, everybody knows. Second, how to understand to a given situation. And third, a specialist kind of a thing. And just to put it in a little, Indian context, in our mythology, it is very clearly, Mahabharata is a classic example of a competency-driven learning process. Everybody knew what exactly to be done, what is the basics of it, but they were given specialization. You are good in this, you go in this. You are good in this, you go in this. So the student will decide based on the potential what they will be looking forward to. All this is nothing but we are talking about personalization. We are talking about benchmarking. Oh, this benchmarking is most abused term. I will talk about it in some time. Learning gaps we are talking about. Now we are trying to talk about global framework through Parak, and we are also talking about continuous professional development. Now people have suddenly got worried. 50 hours, how to work, how to do training for 50 hours. I'm sure that all of you have got a circular. If you are a CBSE school, you have to start keeping some 3 to 4% of your revenue. What is the total revenue in teacher training? Before this, we were not doing teacher training. We were not investing on people. If you don't invest on people, you will never get results. Our worry was that if I train him, he will become principal of other school. That's okay, no? You can say, no, how many principal did I produce? But somewhere we have this as a fear. Don't worry, principal also you can become after 10 years now. You don't have to complete 20 years before the person retires. After 10 years, you can take up a test and then you can get one license to become a principal. This is on offering as per India is concerned, and very, very soon through new education policy. We are talking about future ready. That's where I'm talking about 2030. A lot of data is going to come up. I think we had one problem sometime back in all the schools. There is something is called hots. It was too hot for the teachers to control. It was too hot for teachers to control. They were just dropping. They never knew what is hots all about. Data is going to be very, very important. My request to all of you sitting in this particular program right now who are there virtually attending, go back and start understanding how to read data. First become data literate, because data literacy is going to be very, very important. If you can't read number, you can't do personalization. You can't do remedial. Remedial is not reteaching. Remedial is an exercise, a differential strategy for you to help the child to understand the way he or she understands. And if you really want personalization and data to be understood, my request to you is that if you want your school to bloom, please teach every year your teachers blooms. Yes. If you really want to bloom, your teachers to bloom, please make sure that you are doing every year. Whether CBSE says, ICSE says, don't get worried into all that. You should do at least once a year, either what we call, no, I think every religion has one day to remember all the people who died. Like that, blooms have to be remembered every year, whether you like it or not. Please do it. My request is please do it. The future is for those people who can make better questions. If a teacher is able to create a good question, that means he is going to become the superhero. Because your learning outcome is directly connected to the assessment. Your learning outcome is directly connected to assessment. And if these two are to be connected, then we should have a better understanding of blooms for framing the LO and for assessing that particular LO. Based on this, we really need to look at it. A lot of practice changes, and I'll touch a bit on that. Shuffle, I've already talked about it. All this is in new education policy. And why I gave you examples across the globe is only for the simple reason is whatever I have said here, you ask me a reference, I'll tell you which particular country, which particular practice is being followed. Because what we have done, it was long due. From 2005, it was long due. 1986 onwards, it has been long due. We waited for this policy to come. So we can't do the 5-year model or 10-year model. We really needed a leap. And if that leap is happening, then there is a disruption which will happen in education. And for every disruption, you need two things, practices and technology. How will you improve your practices? By integrating right technology. And that's where it basically tells. So look at the new education policy. In the policy, it very clearly talks about two things. One, it talks about Indian ethos, and then it talks about global knowledge superpower. We will still try to look at what exactly was being done in our own background, and it has been somehow we have kind of left. SUPW, fantastic thing. I am one of the products of SUPW. I love SUPW teacher than any other teacher in my school. Socially useful, productive work was supposed to be done. But then all the one particular caste of people in the school said very, very clearly, SUPW basically means some useful periods are being wasted. And we killed it by bringing life skills to it. All English we added and we killed it. Now this policy is getting us back by making it compulsory. Vocational education karo, compulsory. And that's what it talks about. So we may have to reinvent a lot of practices. Going forward, how can we make schools globally competitive? We need to understand. Competitiveness doesn't mean competition. Competitiveness, if you want to make Indian school competitive, we really need to have one particular point very, very clearly, that we have to identify what he is good at, what he is good at, what she is good at. I need to go back and benchmark and try to find out how is he doing it? How is he doing? How is she doing? I can take some learning. I should not go get the teacher itself. Let me tell you, importing teachers from other schools just to copy a practice will take you to disaster. Let me make it very, very clear. You think that we will take the math, science, English from one school? Because that school, you had freedom. It is a known devil. The management is known devil to you. You go to an unknown campus, next day morning, new school, international school, some name, they will give you pamphlet also to go on the street to get the admission. Then people come back to school. Sir, we'll join again. I have told many schools which I consult, no more, once the staff leaves, say bye, give a good farewell and send off. Bless them properly and send. Tell them very clearly that we will not take you back. Because you are in a comfortable culture, and please understand, humanly 5 to 7 years, if you're settled in a campus, thereafter life is easy. You know how to handle this father and that sister. And fathers and sisters are also, they have 8 years, they are there, and then they move on to next one. So they wait, who is the next priest coming in? So probably people also become very, very smart. So we have to be very cautious when you're trying to work around. So competitiveness is all about identifying somebody who is good in something and comparing yourself with them. And this is where, when we try to talk about competitiveness, you really need a framework. You need a framework which is accepted globally. And that's where I said PISA. And India as a country in NEP, we are moving towards that particular direction. Second, we need a structure. You will have to go back and try to identify people by identifying the senior most and the junior most and invest on them. If you don't invest on the only senior, that fellow will live. If you invest only on the junior, this fellow will live. You need a combination. The past history and the fresh blood both have to work together to understand how the practices are being done. And for that, you really need practices. Tell me, all of us have POSCO to be done. Okay, don't raise hands. This is a very political question. Don't raise hands and just keep it, reflect yourself. POXO. All of us supposed to have. What did we do? There was a document available, Control-C, Control-V. We removed the first cover and put the whole cover. There is a committee to be made. We made one committee. That committee person, people still don't know what is POXO full form. No. It's a very, very, very serious thing. And in India, the legal systems are becoming stronger and stronger day by day. The parent awareness is becoming higher and higher. I know of a school in Bangalore where they are talking about human rights in notebook correction. One particular child's name comes up in V, Victor or something. So his notebook will come always, roll number will come later. The teacher is correcting. So this person has said, the school is following wrong, biased, correction policy. When they come by the teacher also bichara, no? First notebook they will seriously do. Second, little serious. Last V means there's a natural process. So when somebody asks, what should I said, you start the correction from bottom, who stops? One time you do like this, second time you do like this. But the parent has actually taken the text of human rights and sent a notice to the principal saying that you are violating the human rights of my child. Now, please understand, that's what I'm saying. When you're trying to talk about practices, be very careful about it. Because once things will happen, then there you try to cover up the second part of it. But it's always good. Next is data. Don't go by feeling level data. We are collecting thousands of data, but we are not using the data. Application is 4-page. Father's qualification, mother's qualification, other qualification. What are we doing with this? Annual income, we are not checking on it. Other things, we are not checking on it. Vocations, not. Now, vocation column itself can become a NEP useful item for you. Because when you're going to introduce vocationalization, you need people to give you internships. And we have to be given internships, you really require parent support to come in. And I can tell you very confidently, in Ludhiana, I have already practiced for 3 years, we are doing internship. And sometime if time permits, surely I'll show you one template of that, how it is being done. Because it's very important for us to understand that all these things have to become benchmark. And for becoming a good benchmark, you need only 2 things. You can't get people to work. There is no people here. It's only practice and performance. We only compare today the marks, 10th and 12th marks as the marks. Sorry, with learning outcome coming in, measurement of learning shuffle score coming in, you will not be able to look at that data also. And that's where the practice is going to be very important. And if we have to have our practice, we need it to be mapped it properly. And this is where many people use all these things. When I go and ask a lot of schools, there are a lot of legacy schools. Somebody said, why this school is doing well? I said, you are only telling the school is doing. Who says the school is doing well? Tell me. They don't have an answer to it. What is that one practice that they are good? No, their alumni are doing well. Please understand. I have learned this from Finland very, very clearly, that people like Professor Jari Salomon, who wrote against Finland getting PISA rank #1, He said, this rank is not because of the new education policy of Finland, but 40 years before what teachers did. Today we celebrate by saying this, all the Google CEO, this CEO, that CEO is Indian. Yes, it is not because of today's system. It was because of 30 years before what happened. So the practices at that particular time was different and our practices are different. Over a period of time, we have moved away from the core teaching learning, core education experience. And that's where this challenge is coming today to us. So many people use one of the things, and I'm going to take only 3 or 4 areas. One area is practice. In the new education policy, the pedagogical practices are based on the age, developmental stage, 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. Now, all of us had this problem in our schools earlier. The till nursery, LKG, UKG, nursery, LKG, UKG. UKG children, when they used to come to the first standard, there was a gap. There was a cultural shock for the kid. To bridge that gap only, this particular process has been taken. Now, people had a challenge. Sir, I became a second class teacher. Now you're making me nursery teacher. No, you are supposed to run through, you are supposed to go through that particular. So pedagogical practices are going to be important. Second point, assessments. With assessments happening, you may have to get into more of formative assessments than summative. Every assessment will have a rubric. Every assessment will have a time. I don't know, we are not even bothered about, we are only talking about NEP. We are not bothered about credit framework. Once credit framework will come in your lesson plan, you have to write how much time the child is going to do independent learning. Independent learning. Okay. Not only this, it is going to be more student driven. When I talked about learning outcome, it's more a student driven, not a teacher driven. The second area is technology. Again in technology, we really need to look at it what is hybrid and virtual. I don't know how many of you know there is a school called as 21K. 3 years, their total strength is 8,500, 8,700 children they have. For every 20 children, there is one teacher. The ratio is 1:20. Now everybody said the school will get killed after hybrid. Now they're running, still doing well. No, this year they have 500 admissions. So that means there is something new which is coming in. Next is data literacy. Technology can only allow you to collect data, but to read data, you will surely require. Give me 10 minutes, please. Right? Next is 360-degree report card. Now, 360-degree report card is not a report card. 360-degree report card actually talks about very specifically that you really need to do a student evaluation, a teacher evaluation, a parent evaluation, class teacher evaluation, peer evaluation. And if you're going to work on that, I think you'll get some idea when the EduType team is going to do a presentation. You'll get some awareness on it, and I'm sure that will actually help you to understand. And digital portfolio is that today we have been keeping. Go and ask your teachers, if you're all most of your principals, go and ask your teachers one particular question. Do we have a student portfolio? Other than report card, we don't have anything on student portfolio. Good work done by the children, good aspects. I'm sorry, that's not getting covered. The third area is competency-based learning, which is actually trying to talk about, I have already said, concept, context, and connections. So do we know the concept orientation is something very important, and teachers may have to kind of work on it. It's more outcome. What may happen after some time? Skill of skill is all about competency or outcome. Just to put it in the most simplest format. Learning world to the world of work. All this is getting ready that you will have a seamless transition. You will have a seamless transition from learning world to world of work. That means a student who's studying should be able to get aligned to what his competencies are. So when a digital portfolio is given to HR, he will be able to understand that how this particular child is progressing, whether he will be competent enough to work in our team or not. Next one is this bagless days. Again, one of the most abused thing happening in the country. Khana lana hai ki nahi lana, that's what people are asking. No. 358 assessment is a competency. 6th, 7th, 8th. 10 days per year, you are supposed to take the children to 150 kilometers radius of your school to show what are the different vocations exist. So that means in 8th standard, the child will have 3 kinds of data. One data, the awareness. Second, he will have competency shuffle score. Third, his or her academic score. If all these 3 things are there, the child will be able to make a better choice whether he should go for a vocation stream or whether he should go for maths and science, or now that is all gone. You have to study everything. Not only this, people have, it's not about 6, 7, 8, sorry, 5, 6, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 internships are coming in. Every year, 15 days, the child has to go outside, work in any role. Now, many people will be sitting and thinking, MBA itself, we are struggling. Where schools? It's happening. That's where I said there is a data in your application form called as vocation. Identify 30 days, 30 different vocations, what you would like to introduce. Identify 30 parents and sign up with them to make sure that your children go there, understand and come back. It is not about carpenter to be brought into the hall to say how he works, but his children should know what is a carpenter's life. What is the life of a carpenter? That's very, very important. Going forward, my worry is this. This is what will happen after some time. We are policy level, we are very, very good, but when it comes to implementation, we will do all the shortcuts. My worry is here only. And this is where what I basically believe that there is something called as Peace of Our Schools, which is coming up quite well. This is the only assessment globally which is taking care of socio-emotional skill. Socio-emotional skill. And in this particular socio-emotional, it's not only math, science, and reading. It is also about how your performance in this different socio-economic background you come from. And we need global frameworks for this. We need global framework for this. And I can tell you in Gujarat has already signed up for this. There are other states which are signing up very soon. Very, very important is it's only a global framework, but you are not compared to the world everywhere. You're only compared to people who are comparable to you, which is basically thumb rule of benchmarking. Apple is compared only to apple, not to orange. Or orange is always compared to orange, not to an apple. And this is where the whole learning will happen. That each one of these things are going to be very important. Not only this, this is just to give you a simple example. Do you see the bubbles here? And do you see this thing? And based on this particular aspect only, you are compared with global benchmark. Not only this, we really need to look at it. Look at these keywords. This is how PISA assesses the student. It basically says how resilient is he. So question is not on resilience. Question is all about, there will be a question, how the resilient concept is extrapolated is something which the child is supposed to answer. Not only this, relationship with peers. That's where peer assessment NEP is trying to talk about. To try to look at the commonality between both the things, you will be able to appreciate better. What it basically says, it's a more a concept. You will get data. I have already said data literacy, data literacy, data literacy. It is going to play a very, 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 very important role. Very, very important role. And finally, you have to act on the data. One classic example I would like to say, all of us have been doing this Olympiad examinations. What happens after that? Result will come. Next day morning, one garland, what you call that, gold, silver, everything is given, certificate is given, clapping over, photo uploaded on Facebook and Insta, story over. How many times that report has gone to the department meeting? How many times that report has gone to the department meeting? No. Now do it. Your achievement of yellow, shuffle is nothing but moving towards this particular direction. With all that, just to leave a little thought on, PISA is basically for government, PISA for school is for private institution and for state governments. And to tell you frankly, it was not very easy for us to get into this because we are a non-signatory country in OECD. There are only 38 countries and we are still not part of it. That has advantage and disadvantage both. So PISA for schools is here to come. And once it comes, then this will give you a lot of feedback. What typically happens? Your students write answers, school principals write answers, parents also answer questions. Everybody answers. But the question are not the key maths, how much maths the parent knows. No. It is all about the socio-economic scenario. And that's where these assessment will basically, there are 16 countries, India becomes the 17th country this year. I'm sure with this kind of a thought process, we are right now only putting one poster in our school called as SDG without even understanding what is SDG. SDG says you should be environment friendly, but we make a flex to put SA, we are SDG. See, look at the contradiction. Look at the contradiction. We are saying we are following SDG, but we have no policy to say how we will make sure that this particular flex will be discarded. If you have a clear policy for it, then I'll accept this. Otherwise, no. So one of the things which policy is talking about is quality education. And PISA also talks about it. Acceptance of our children globally by 2030, data and teacher. I'm sure with this kind of thought process in the shortest possible time, I think my time got cut 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I'm okay with that. I'll take up questions. Thank you very much. And I invite all of you to join this journey, which is beautiful, called as PISA for schools. Why I'm wanting you to take it up is that you should be challenging. Just to conclude my session, there was a study done by Boston Consulting Group some time back where they said what kind of 4 scenarios may happen in India. One scenario, there was a beautiful image that there is a dead animal, there is a lion, there is a fox, there is a wolf, there is a vulture, there are birds, there are small worms wanting to eat that particular dead person. That means India will have so much of corruption that everybody wants a pound of flesh from that. That's one scenario. The second scenario was, which is depicted very beautiful in that particular document, is there is a boy who is trying to send all the buffaloes out of the flush. When he's trying to push the buffaloes out of the flush, the other dirty buffaloes are pushing this buffalo to get inside. So we will have one scenario. If one person is doing a reform, other buffaloes will not allow them to get out the flush. The third area is very, very interesting, which is called as multinationals coming. There is a small bird, there is a pigeon, there is a white pigeon, there is some beautiful bird, and then there's a peacock. They say all the people will be appreciating small shops, and suddenly there will be one supermarket coming in. Then there is one international multinational supermarket will come. Automatically, people will forget all these chutku-putku fellows, and they will start looking at this. So one scenario, India will have lot of beautiful peacocks, nothing will happen. And the last scenario, which I personally believe may happen and should happen, and that is nothing but fireflies flying together. The quality what a firefly has, even sun doesn't have. And what does that mean? In the night, the fireflies can do what? Glow. And I look at each one of you who is sitting here and at home or at school attending, each one of you is a firefly. If all of us in the night glow together, what may we get? The light will come. But that particular note, thank you very much, organizers, and sorry for taking the time more. I'm open for question answers. I'm around here till 3:30. Don't worry, I'll run away after the session. I love fighting with people, whether it is board or principal. So we will take up the questions. Please go ahead. Yeah, if there are questions, yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for that session, which laid us the bare facts of the current education system. The session is open for questions since it's quite late. We can have 1 or 2 questions and maybe during the break. Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I think almost all the states have been preparing for the NEP and all those things.
Sure, sir.
Now, of late, after the NEP came in, we have NCF 2023. Most of the people were talking about blooms and all those things, and then with lots of basic ethics being going on, and then no principles, and then there's a lot of gap between the teacher and the student and all. So therefore, they have revised it. NCF says you have to give about lot of importance to the values, ethics, principles, depositions. Then comes the capacities, then is your knowledge. So they have streamlined it and says it is not the knowledge that you put in the first teach the children from the younger age, the values and the depositions. So capacities, and then comes the knowledge as per the NCF 2023. I hope you are aware of it.
Sir.
But if keeping that in mind, and India is one such scenario where we do not have, as you told, student who's been studied all the way of 12 years should be able to write 1 page of English fluently. If not, it's not that he has learned. But India is not like that. We have got so many such schools, even now existing, who says MONDA is Munde. If that is the case, how is this NEP and NCF going to be integrated, and how far we take? Of course, everybody are fireflies, but there are so many other problems, so many other
Can we take
things.
one?
Yes.
Can we take any
No,
one?
to sum up, I have given you the whole picture of it.
Agree.
Yes.
See, it's very easy when we make a blanket statement. I would like you to address only one concern, any one concern, and I will answer that one concern. Why I'm saying it? Sir, there is something called as until unless we make right question. I said in my presentation, if you make the right question, you will get the right answer. So can you put up in a very plain statement one such question that this is not possible, and I will answer that particular.
No, I will never say that it's not possible. I am
That's
just getting it through Dr. Sindhil Kumar. How is this going to happen? I am not saying that it's not going to happen, but I would listen from you a statement for how this can happen and how will it go.
Sure. Let me tell you one or two examples to it. One example is we are talking about early years. FLN we are talking about, right? In FLN, just go and do a little Google. In Gujarat, right now, MBA, engineering people are applying for early year job, teacher job. It is not about unemployment. They are supposed to talk about something called as pedagogical practices. If you are passionate, you apply, you go through a course, you can become a teacher. One. Second, there is something called as practicing professionals. If you are a good farmer, you go through a 6-month program offered by CBSE, you can go and start teaching farming as a vocation in a school. This is already happening in Kuvempu University in Karnataka, where all the people who used to write those Janapada Geets thing and all, they're already doing research there, sir. Musicians are doing research, sir. They never had any kind of a qualification to get 55%, and they never took up on an entrance examination for PhD, sir. So it's already happening. Point number one. Point number two, when we are talking here in Kerala, I don't know if there are schools from Kerala, they will be able to say the government has already started saying in every worksheet, please start mentioning how much man hours you're going to spend. How much man hours you're going to spend to complete that. And that is nothing but National Credit Framework. Everybody said it's not possible to have ACB, Academic Bank of Credits may not happen. Last 3 years, we are getting our report cards only in DigiLocker. Only in DigiLocker. Another example. While we are sitting and talking here, there is something called as VSK. Vidya Samiksha Kendra. 60 crores or 600 crores has been given to each state to establish data analysis. Even in Karnataka. Anybody from PUC here? 11th and 12th? Karnataka PUC? Principals? Okay, nobody is here. Karnataka PUC, they can give you the data, granulated data, how she has performed and which particular question she has not done well. So we don't have to go and maybe what happens, sometimes we have a little limited awareness on some of the aspects. And then we say that, no, it is like pushing. Until unless you push something, you will not get a result. Sir, all of us in this room, if you are a principal, you will also surely understand that CCE, when it came in, parent never asked your teacher one particular question. They only said, I don't want to know grade. Please tell me what percentage is marked. This became a big challenge for our teachers. That challenge should not happen. That's why I am telling you now, please invest on data literacy. Your teacher should be able to do analysis. Just wait for post-lunch. EduTai will talk to you that when a parent-teacher meeting is happening in English, what particular chapter, what particular area the child is not able to perform well, we'll be able to show you, sir. Don't worry. Wait for some time. And have good food so that we can have good conversations, sir. Yeah, next question. If there is one. I'll take one more. It's okay. Let them ask, I think. And I'm here, so we will surely talk. Yes, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, fine. Sorry. Fine. Thank you very much. And appreciate your patience listening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for patiently answering. And I'm sure we have the lunch and the following sessions. We can have a interaction with sir. Gratitude is the healthiest of all the human emotions. The more you express gratitude for what you have, the more likely you will have even more to express gratitude for. A single conversation across the table with a wise man is better than 10 years mere studies of books, says Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. And that's exactly, I think, what is proved with the interaction of Sir with the participants and probably during the lunch. And from this session, I'm sure that all our participants would have amassed enough information about NEP 2020 and what it aims for that they would not gain in many forthcoming days. On behalf of Kristu Jayanti College, I would like to express our deepest sense of gratitude to you, sir, for sharing your knowledge with us. And now I request Dr. Manigandan to present mementos to sir as a token of our gratitude. Thank you, sir. I thank all the dignitaries and participants for their intense listening and thought-provoking questions that has raised the hope that NEP 2020 will be a milestone in the journey of Indian education. Now I request all the dignitaries and participants to assemble at the entrance of the admin block, the ground floor, for a group photo session. And after the photo session, you may proceed to pantry hall for the lunch. Thank you once again.